Welcome, dirty peasants, to episode 82 of Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This week we'll be covering the second half of season 3 of our retrospectives. So this includes everything from Commander Anne to the Three Armies, and we'll cover the beginning of the end, all in, and the hardest thing as its own kind of topic. I'm your host, Thematicon, and joining me today we have Impact
Hey, what's good, everybody?
and Nick.
Hey.
All right, thanks guys for coming on. No news this week, I believe. So I'm just going to go through the, outline for tonight. We'll kind of start off with the new status quo of Anne the Planners returning to Amphibia, so stuff like Commander Anne, Spryvy, Sasha's Angels. Then we'll go into the Ulm stuff, Ulm Town Road, Mother of Ulms. We'll talk about the Core and the King, and then we'll kind of talk about all the army building episodes together, such as The Root of Evil, Grimes' Pupil, Nudes and Tights, Fireflight, and the conclusion of all that, the Three Armies. So going into 3B, I guess history lesson, we got so Matt Brawley on Twitter, he announced the Marcy Journal and then also released the 3B trailer where we found out that he was able to I think he convinced Disney not to make another trailer, like a trailer from multiple episodes. They released
Yeah.
a really actually honestly a fantastic teaser where we had a bit of Escape to Amphibia because this was airing with the rest of 3B at the time. And then it kind of shows a lot of clips, not a lot of clips, but a couple of clips from the Core and the King, the flashback scenes, while Marcy's the True Colors rendition of Marcy's theme was playing. It was really powerful stuff. It had the tagline of every journey has a beginning and its end. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that gave me.
It was short too.
Yeah, it gave me
short. It was
goosebumps.
simple.
Just God, I don't know. It's such a specific niche, but just the idea that this main character, they're thrusted into the end of this gigantic story, and it's they have nothing to do with what happened thousands of years ago, but they are somehow so important, and they're here to end it all. I was when they gave Anne that role, dude, I was yeah, it was goosebumps. I was just. Oh, and then the parallels between Anne and Andreas. I'm here for that. That was incredible.
Yeah, and it didn't give you too much. It was a nice balance of still giving us intrigue with the trailer, without telling us the entire damn plot. Because not gonna lie, 3A trailer kind of with that Darcy reveal, come on. You know what I mean? It was a bit much.
Yeah, it was never cook again. It was that.
Honestly,
yeah.
Literally told us the entire plot, of the season.
For real.
And they did the same thing with 2B.
No, seriously, get that chef out of the kitchen. They did. It's three. Yeah, because 2B. I think honestly, I think we said it a million times, but it was yeah, they showed off almost all the major conclusions to those episodes. So at a certain point, you were just sort of waiting for the episode just to arrive there. I mean, they're still hype as hell. But yeah, definitely I don't want to say it gave us all the answers, but it definitely led us into a very clear direction, I'll say.
Yeah, so the lack of teasers in this case kind of really helped the intrigue of every segment we were getting. We'd still get the cruise, promotional posters, and Matt started doing very simplified posters that kind of gave you enough info, but they're still really nice to have.
Yeah, those really cool.
I like them. I like the consistency with it. I don't know. It felt like you were collecting.
It was really,
I guess.
yeah. yeah. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No. I said all I wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, because I was gonna say yeah because it was also really fun trying to predict because he'd only make a poster for like one episode, right? So it was really fun trying to predict which one he was gonna do for like we were like okay, which one is okay? This will decide favorite segment and we'll decide whether or not it's good. And it's like I don't know, I think every character got to be on one except for like Hop Hop or something. I think it was Hop Hop and Polly maybe, but yeah,
Damn.
it was really cool. Yeah, for
Two of
Hop.
the main
I mean,
characters.
Hop Hop did get a bunch of surprising dubs in 3D, so I guess it made up for it.
Yeah, he definitely made up for it in this this half.
Yeah.
Like, and also the synopsis were very vague as well.
Oh my god. Okay, you just reminded. Are we gonna talk about? Are we gonna talk about what like the major league? Like we should like mention. Y'all remember that shit? Like that was crazy. Like weren't we? Was it like right before 3B started too or something? Like y'all remember like.
Oh, like when like what's the word, like Sasha's Angels and Hometown Road got like
Yeah,
leaked.
no, all the
Oh,
no, all the titles, like everything. All the titles all got leaked from
Oh,
that one
I
Russian
forgot about
website.
that. I
Yeah,
forgot
like
about that.
it's
I think I
crazy,
think Hometown
fucking
Road and Sasha's Angels were the first like
yeah.
episode titles that
Or
we
they were the
got.
first ones. Yeah. They were like uploaded like on YouTube or something, right? Like I forget exactly what it was. It's like YouTube TV or something. Like
Oh yeah, it was YouTube. I think it was yeah, it was a YouTube. YouTube TV copyright. Yeah, that was it. That was it. Yeah, because I remember. Yeah, because that actually did happen in the past. I forgot what episode. But that happened in the past, and that was how we sort of knew. Okay, this is legit. Like it happened to an episode like years ago, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, Flood, Sweat, and Tears. Thank you, Chuck. He's the information guy. By the
God
way.
damn.
Like,
That's
Yeah,
yeah,
so
so that
Jesus.
was how we knew. That's how we knew we're creepy like that. That's how we fucking knew. Like we know too much,
yeah, so
but
basically,
that was how we knew that
was
was
it like a
legit.
Flood, Sweat, and Tears episode or clip was taken down, and the copyright was mentioned for like Sasha's Angels slash Hometown Road? Is that what happened?
I don't know. I just know
Yeah,
there was a
I can't quite
copyright
remember.
strike. I don't remember the full context. I just know it was a copyright strike, and people were like, "Oh shit, here's the episode." I thought it was
Oh,
like
I think someone
I thought it was like a
posted a
leak. To be
different
honest.
video, and then Flood, Sweat, and Tears like. Oh, okay, but yeah, that was like back in season one, so like no one really like
Ancient
noticed
times.
it. I think someone wrote in like the YouTube comments, like that's what happened. Yeah, like a random frog YouTuber, like he mentioned it in his comments, and then like all 5 people interested noticed.
Anyways. Yeah, truly all the way to get it. Yeah. That was crazy. Yeah, we were. Honestly, you have to wonder how Matt felt because it escalated from there, right? Like I don't remember when we got it, but I just know it was very early on. It's like all of a sudden we had the rest of the season mapped out. But it was funny. It was a funny day. They were all in like Russian, right? So we had to wait for someone to properly translate them, and that's how we got that's how we found out about the hardest thing, the
Hardest
beginning of the
thing.
end, like Three
Yeah,
Armies, like yeah,
I
everything.
think I think I
Go
think we
ahead.
were speculating the time too, right? Because we didn't. I think like at the time, I think we didn't know how long All In or the hardest thing were, right? I forget.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
Yeah, that was from
yeah.
like a French
Oh
news
my god.
article where they mentioned there was like
Oh
18 episodes in season 3, and I think this was before season 3 aired as well. So everyone was like, "Wait, 18 episodes? Like, don't we usually get like a normal like
Oh
20
my!
20.
episode
All right,
season?"
we
Yeah.
gotta bring it up, man. The coping, like like the fan. I'm gonna say some fan. Like, I'm just gonna say it. Like some people gave up when they saw that shit. Some people are like, it's over.
What?
Or some people are like, this is gonna be Cleaves 2.0. Some people were just like, it's over. This is dead. Like they were like, I remember that shit.
Yeah, because the worry was
Crazy.
like there wasn't enough time to like wrap everything up, so it's like we're getting 18 instead
Yeah.
of 20, and
Yeah.
then we're already like 10
They're
episodes
like,
down. Like,
yeah. They're like, Darcy is gonna get uh like defeated in the finale. We're doomed, guys. We're so fucking doomed. Like there's no way Amphibia's gonna wrap this up. Like there's no way.
I mean, like
Like
Darcy did
oh,
get defeated in the
yup.
finale.
yeah,
Like
like
that did happen. It
People
did
were like, we're
happen.
doomed. Like people were like, it's gonna be ass. The conclusion's gonna be ass. It's gonna be so rushed. It's not gonna be satisfying. Like it was. Like my God, dude. I see. I can't forget. Like that was like. I'm telling you. Like sometimes like I would. It was like anxiety or something. I'll give you fucking anxiety, man. Because it was just like, you know what I mean? Like just because once you already go for that constantly, once where you're in this fandom for years, then the show's ending is complete garbage and that destroys the fandom. Like, dude, that's like you never want to go for that pain again. So when people are like trying to egg that on, oh my God, like. There were some days where I was terrified. I'll admit that. Like some days I
To
was
be
terrified.
fair, like Amphibia out of all shows, fucking up a finale is like, like we've had like two really solid season finales. I wasn't like super scared about like season 3 fucking it up. I guess yeah, there was some like mess ups along the way, like for season 3, but it didn't feel like the show had no like plan or goal. It
Yeah,
felt like it always knew what it wanted to do. It felt like it was committing to themes that this show established at the start of the piece. Like, I didn't feel like it, like, at least to me personally, I wasn't super anxious about it. Like, I was a little worried with time, but I was like, I feel like with like lore and stuff, Amphibia just explains it in like 2 minutes. Like Andreas just says like his entire backstory in like 1 minute in True Colors, and then they get back to the action. Like, you know what I mean? Like the core
yeah.
explains itself in Olivia and Yunan. Well, Andreas is like the core is a collection of Amphibia's greatest minds. Blah blah blah. Okay, Marcy, get possessed, and that's like 2 minutes. You know what I mean? It's not like super long to like get information, So I don't know.
Like, people just didn't believe. I tried to tell them the same thing. I was like, I remember. I was like, y'all, look at like Amphibia did all these massive season length reveals in like minutes in True Colors, but it wasn't enough until they had to see it. But I don't know. But I mean, okay, but that's enough fandom trashing. Tom, I know you want us to actually get 3B now.
That's right. I guess we can start off with the first couple of episodes, Commander Ann, Spivey, and Sasha's Angels. Now, I know Impact is kind of like in the same boat as me, where like I'll be
Learning
I'll be
from
brief. Commander Ann kind of nerfed Ann and the planners when
and
they first got back. The planners I can kind of
lawyer.
no wait, let me explain. The planners I can kind of
I'm just,
I can understand because like they're just getting right back into Amphibia, and I know they're gonna get massive wins like later on the season. Even when I was first watching it, so I let it slide, and I was kind of like a little like hesitant, but I know Impact could probably go into better detail about that. Spivey,
yeah. So like,
okay,
oh
go
sorry,
go
keep going.
go ahead. Impact, we can talk about Commander N.
Okay. So like, the biggest problem with Commander Ann is that it just nerfs the hell out of Ann. Last time in 3A, she was like robbing museums and shit, fighting Terminator robots, fighting the FBI, going Super Saiyan at will. She was crazy. Like she wasn't like broken or anything, but the girl could like lead. She could like make her own decisions, whatever, right? It felt like Anne had like is naturally using her growth from seasons 1 and 2. And in Commander Anne, I get what it's trying to do. Like, okay, like Anne isn't used to the environment, so she's naturally messing up. That's fine. Like that makes sense. That's cool. Like having Sasha be a little bit more like adaptable to it. But like sometimes and it's that stacking joke that gets me because Anne is making an actively stupid decision with like that feels a little out of character to me. It feels like it's making Anne act dumb for the sake of making Sasha look cool when the show doesn't need to do that. Like you could easily have it so then Anne gets tripped up by something she wouldn't expect. Maybe like some like tripwire or something or some sensory thing that Sasha didn't tell her about. But Sasha doesn't want to like take control, so that happens. Things like that. It doesn't have to make the character look dumb. So I didn't mean to start Commander Ann bash like start 3B with bashing it because I do really like Commander Ann. I like everything with Sasha this episode. I like how it introduces the resistance and stuff. I do think like it's weird that they have to nerf Anne when like they not have to. They nerfed Anne as a character when you don't need to do that. Like the cool thing about Anne is that like she should be Sasha's equal. You know what I mean? At this point, she shouldn't be able to lead the same way, but like they should be able to bounce off each other a little more. And I felt like with this, it was just trying to make Anne look worse to make Sasha look better. And I get it's a kid show. You're supposed to emphasize those traits. You know what I mean? So then like kids can get it. But like, I don't know. It didn't feel like 3A needed to neuter down a character. Well, kinda. I would just say like I didn't think 3A established an Anne that would be screwing up the way it showed in Commander Anne. So it's a pet peeve I didn't mind when I first watched it. But like as I've critically thought about this season, the more I'm like, I don't like this version of Anne. This feels weird. So I don't know. It's a bit off. I do think they do a better job of it in like Sasha's Angels. They handle the character a lot better and like
Yeah.
Newts and Tights and Fight or Flight. So I'll give 3B this. I'll give 3B that. But like Commander Anne, not a great start for the character, at least in my opinion. So
And like, and I agree, Impact. Like, especially seeing the rest of 3B, Commander Ann kind of feels like an outlier with how they kind of like treat Anne first coming back to Amphibia.
yeah,
And
it's like they resetted the character. It's very strange to me. I don't know why they did that. They had like a really good arc for the character in 3A. And I still think it's used. Like it's still like I don't think 3A doesn't matter. Like it's still important to the character. I just feel like it's a bit like not underused, but like the character is like changed a bit when it doesn't need to be.
yeah, because I think Commander Ann was like kind of trying to like emphasize why Sasha need to be in the role she was currently in at the moment, being like kind of like the de facto leader. And it's still like an interesting
Yeah.
premise of like Sasha kind of like wanting to like pass that on to Anne out of respect. And Anne we've seen is like really good at like bringing people together and coordinating people. Like so that's why it's such a weird thing. Like Anne's good at recognizing people's strengths and using them, but like
I think Dumb, keep going.
yeah, I just didn't like how they executed it here because they could have done something with how like because I always saw like Anne's not always good at the day to day, but like when the going gets tough, like Anne's the one who kind of can lead the charge, and then someone else like Sasha
Yeah.
can do all like the logistics, while she's sort of like the ace.
Yeah. I think like also Anne is like since she's also good at relationships, there's like this really cool point in Ground Pupil where like Sasha is like logically thinking, oh, like Grime and Sprig can work together perfectly. But Anne, who's a bit better with relationships, is like, ayo, Sasha, this isn't gonna work. Like Sasha, like Grime and like Sprig like hate each other. I love that Anne's able to figure that out, but Sasha can't. That's a small thing, but like that's the stuff I like. You know what I mean? Where like they just lead differently because of who they are as people. So like Sasha, I would say Sasha is good at understanding individuals better, but I think Anne is really good at getting relationships and like combos a little better, if that makes sense. I think like if Anne was leading the Sprivy mission, I think Anne would have known that Sprig and Ivy are gonna like mess around and do stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like and would have stopped it. Well, like Sasha's thinking more as like everyone as an individual working together. So like and that's how she was able to manipulate people before, right? You know what I mean? Understand their insecurities or strengths and like abuse or use them for her own like benefit. But now she's using that skill for something a little different. So I don't know. It's like it I just think Commander Ann specifically just feels like it's weirdly like nerfing the character, Anne as a character, when it doesn't need to. Like, you have a perfectly awesome dynamic without changing the character that much, so, which we see later in the season.
And I like how you brought up Spivey and Sasha's Angels. Like, Sasha's Angels B plot kind of goes into Anne kind of still being a little bit wary of Sasha, even though they kind of like Commander Anne kind of like establishes like Sasha's like past all of the
Toxic manipulation.
yeah, she literally
Yeah.
says it.
It's the funniest line, I swear to God. Like, hearing Sasha just straight up say her problem out loud was the weirdest thing ever. Like, I think in a good way though. Like, like in a good way where it's like, oh my God, Sasha is self-aware of her problems. You know what I mean? Like, that's really cool. And like, that's a thing. Like, oh, I think all the girls actually start becoming significantly more self-aware of their own issues and like problematic mindsets. Like, as the show progresses, like, even like, this is a little bit of finale talk, a little bit, but I do like that ends up like playing a part in the finale because as the girls get to know their own problems, they understand their narrative foils a little better too. So, but yeah, it always like always one of the funniest. It sounded, I honest to God, I thought it sounded like fan fiction of how direct it was. Of Sasha just going like not insulting fan fiction.
Low
Like,
key.
I don't think it was a bad line though. I think it was like, I think it's cool for Sasha to like actually say her problem out loud. Like, I think that's actually character growth. It was just like it was just whiplash. Like, yeah, like
that's like because that was pretty much how the fandom kept on referring to it. So it felt like a fan snuck in and dropped in like that line. It was very jarring. Like I didn't think it was bad, but it was like, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
I was like, she really
But I
just
think
said
that,
that?
yeah, but I think that was the point though. I think that was always kind of the idea because like Sasha is a different person now, and she's a little bit more like self-aware of her problems, which is cool because like I think it gives Sasha like a new problem to deal with because now Sasha is aware like, oh, she is a bitch and she is mean to Anne and she is a bit too controlling. And it's a fun part of her character because like now like 3B is kind of exploring Sasha having to get over her insecurities, but also showing to Anne that she's grown and changed. But Sasha herself does not believe she has. And I think that's like, I don't know, it's interesting for Sasha to prove her growth through her actions, but her thought process on herself is still very poor, which gets like, I'll talk about that a little later, but like it's, I don't know, like I think Sasha this season like being more self-aware of her problems is like on purpose. I think that's like high key intentional, like of adding more to the character's arc and even like to her own fight later in the finale. So yeah, I think that was like that's a line I grew to really like as time went on. So yeah,
And I forgot to mention this, like, in these first couple segments, the planter tunnels comes back. And this was like first established back in A Trip to the Archives. And you know, it's nice that Sasha like admits her toxic tendencies, manipulations, and then proceeds to like uproot the planter's ancestral home for to set up a war camp.
I mean, like you can't blame her. Like, where else is she gonna go?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I'm just
you know
joking.
what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's like it's loaded with like it's loaded with supplies too. So
yeah.
I just think it's really nice how like useful that ended up being. And I think a lot of people speculated that like once we knew Andrews invaded Amphibia and stuff, like oh, like the planners have like a very solid base in their like in their basement already.
The bunker down, yeah. It's interesting though, because like I remember like when season 3 before season 3 came out, you know, you had like a bunch of pre-season 3 AUs and stuff, and like I don't remember the Planter family tunnels being used that much with a lot of Sasha AUs. It was a lot of like Sasha Farmer stuff or like Sasha saves Marcy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Ghost
those are
Marcy.
yeah, that was like I don't remember like anyone predicting it like specifically that like Sasha and the Resistance would be using the tunnels. When it showed up though, I was like hype as fuck. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's interesting to think about because like season 3 has like a constant pattern of like celebrating season 1. You know what I mean? I always found it interesting that like pre season 3, a lot of like theories and stuff like that. I don't remember really doing that. Like thinking about, I want to phrase this in a good way, but like not using season 1 as a basis. Nah, that's not true. Hold on, that's cap. Never mind.
Like,
I'll think about that later.
no, I know what you mean. Like, we saw a lot of like season one comebacks with respect to Anne's growth in Amphibia,
Yeah.
but then people weren't expecting so many plot elements from season one making a return.
Yeah, and like we aren't like making theories with season 1 in mind, if that makes sense. Like I felt like this is a bit of fandom talk, but like I just noticed that like a lot of it feels like I'm pushing an agenda with this. But like
No, I
it
like
feels
your I like
like
your agenda, Impact.
like okay. It I feel like a lot of times as a fandom, we try to use only season 2 to predict the show without understanding the first act of the piece. So what ends up happening is like you have a lot of theories that like are more like Sasha loses an eye and loses an arm. Like it's not like stuff that's based upon like what the show has established since its first act. Like, oh, like characters coming back, or themes and ideas of the story returning, or like plot elements from the first season, like making the appearance, like the Planter family tunnels and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really remember like a lot of like theories and talk using season 1 as a basis. Like it I don't know, it was just an observation I noticed. Even like pre-season 3, it was like it was just interesting to like trying to use season 2 as a basis to analyze season 3, but like there's a whole first act that like that season 3 is celebrating a lot more, and like us as a fandom aren't using it, I guess. I don't know. I'm curious if like even like we're talking, but like if anyone who's listening to this recording knows what I'm talking about, like please write a comment or something. So like, yeah, like it's a little weird. It's an observation I noticed when I was in the fandom. So yeah, that's it.
And a lot of these season one comebacks, I did not expect Barry, the clown guy, to come back in Sasha's Angels, and I think it was really interesting how like it's kind of like a Toady segment, and Mrs. Croker kind of mentions how like everyone's kind of like toughened up, and it's kind of surprising to see like the crew they had. It was Loggle, Wally, Maddie, Croker,
Yeah.
and then Toady somehow came along. But Maddie, we kind of like she was like the creepy baker, and then now she's kind of like a witch, like a mage, whatever. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Wally, we kind of spent a lot of time with him in season one and season two. Like we get to see like different sides of him. And then Loggle, he just gets buff. Like
He's,
so, it's
he's
like
his muscles.
yeah,
That's
like all
his
the
joke.
townies, like townsfolk, have kind of like changed a little bit throughout the show.
which is which is cool. It's a great way of showing the theme, like of shade. I like that. Like all the the townies adapting to like the post-apocalyptic world. That was cool. That was
Yeah,
a
so
cool way of using the theme of the story.
so just to see like Toady, like the show again is like going explaining the show's about change and all the characters undergoing change, and then Toadie's kind of like this little bean that like has kind of his own. Did anyone else kind of feel like that moment where they break his pencil, like his special pencil, and he reminds of Anne from True Colors after Spring gets thrown out the building. Where
Yeah,
like
I think you mentioned it in the recording.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
recording, yeah. I don't. I wish I asked Matt if we asked Matt if that was intentional or not, because that's like that felt
I feel
way.
like it
I
might
was
have
getting
been
like
cool.
deja vu, like even with the way it was like framed, but yeah, is there anything else you guys want to bring up for Sasha's Angels and Spivey? I think Spivey, I just wanted to say, like, people kind of gave this episode a hard time.
For no reason. Like,
And
to be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm like, I am pretty much that Black Panther scene where it's Charlie yelling like all his hands up. He's like, "You're wrong, you're all wrong." Like that's like me. I'm like, because it was so like I don't know. It was weird. I didn't really understand the hate. I feel like it came from a lot of things. I guess like they were I don't know. To a lot of people, it's Sasha time. To a lot of people, I feel like there's also just a thing where like I don't know. I guess if a character, if the joke is that a character's annoying, a lot of people can't really gel with that. Like I don't know. It's just like the most random things taken to just not like this episode. Like it's fine if people don't like it, but it was weird. It was bizarrely treated like it was one of the worst Amphibia episodes. When it's like, no, this is generally one of the funniest episodes Amphibia's ever found. Like I was like, you cannot tell me like Fern, am I saying her name wrong? It was
no,
Fern.
no, it was Fern.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Fern. Like, I was probably thinking like, okay, I was thinking of much time. That's what tripped me out. But like, yeah, Fern. Like, dude, she was like easily probably the fun. Like, she came out of nowhere, and she has like all these zingers. Like, it's like banger line after banger line after banger line. Just like, where's the appreciation of comedy? Like, where like this was easily one of the best comedic episodes they ever put on. Yes, yeah, we got it was a Kill la Kill reference stuff. That's what pissed off people. They don't want Kill la Kill mix it up with video. But no, but for real though, it got a bizarre amount of hate. But I'll let you guys go.
Like, even outside the shipping stuff, I still think this was like a solid episode to show like the logistics of the rebellion versus Andrews, with how like the whole goal of this mission was to like get a supply line, or sorry, shut down this like generator slash area to allow supplies to come into Wartwood. So it's like there's still like world building going on. Like I feel like Spivey for me is like the truck stop Polly of season 3, where like just having like Soggy Joe on the road, like delivering stuff in and out of the valley, like kind of like for me is like world building.
Nice.
I know it's like a
I
weird
think
analogy, but like I just like
Hey,
that like
Soggy
kind of
Joe
like
representation.
yeah, it's kind of like it's simple stuff, but like it helps kind of like
Yeah, it's nice.
fills out the world. Like Wally's dad was the one delivering the rebellion supplies, and that was a nice callback
Yeah,
too. Like
yeah. Wasn't there like a
yeah.
joke with that? Like, wasn't there a joke?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Ivy's like, what? Like, who the hell is this?
she's
Like,
like yeah, she's like, does
does
anyone?
anyone think she looks like Wally? Like, it is hilarious.
Oh, and that just gives so much fuel to the people who think like Wally is Ivy's dad.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Jack mentioned it in the chat.
that crazy. That theory is crazy. Like all just how they compose that. Just that just that pan over the Wally when he's like, "Oh, how do you think I met your father?" It's like the fact that feels the thing. I mean, like I don't know. Like there isn't. no evidence to disprove it, so I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Like, can't exactly deny it, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy.
I will say, jumping on Spivey back again, it was so weird because when I came to this episode, I was firmly like, this episode might be kind of mid. Like Spivey, like I don't need a whole episode on this. And then I watched it and I was kind of like, oh no, that was really fun. That was really funny. It did a good job. Honest to God, I'll say it. I think Spivey really saves Commander Ann. I think one of the problems with Commander Ann is that the first like few minutes are hustling. They are going
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they are like Sasha's like, okay, here's the resistance. Okay, Marcy's in the castle. Okay, we gotta do this. Okay, you're leading. Like chill out. You know what I mean? Like you gotta give us time to like know what's going on. And like it was fine because all the Ann Sasha conflict was fun. So like all the Sasha and stuff was fun. So I was like, okay, I'm fine with this. But like I think Spivey came in and gave me that slow, like chill the fuck out. This is how this world works. This is how the status quo works. We're gonna use a simple mission to explain it. So like I don't know, Spivey always felt like it kind of like fixed Commander Ann's problem. Like I guess you could fix it by Commander Ann being a 22-minute episode. Sure. I think you could make that work. But like it didn't need to me because we got 2 adventures for the price of one. One and Spivey allows it to kind of like heal Commander Ann's wounds a bit. So like I don't know, like I thought Spivey was like pretty fun. Like I like episodes like this that just like give you a good idea of like what the resistance has been up to. You know what I mean? Like it's nice for like Sprig who's like, like doesn't know how this works. Sometimes like to start screwing shit up. Like Sasha's got like has a good thing going, but like Sprig's gonna blow it all up. You know what I mean? Sprig and Ivy. So I think like it's I don't know, I like episodes like Spivey. They give you a good idea of how the status quo works. It's fun world building, it's good character work. And also this episode's fucking hilarious. So yeah.
I pretty much agree. Yeah, because I think like you had a really good point though about how this just helped actually. No, because it's like a big thing in storytelling is that investment, right? Just getting you really invested in the world, characters, the plot, like whatever, all that going on. Like yeah, Commander Ann, it definitely because it was really just trying to juggle the new status quo and what was going on in Ann and Sauce's relationship. But I think they ended up just like choosing the latter. And yeah, no, just honestly, yeah, those first, yeah, sure, you laid it out really well. Like that's why we needed Spivey, even beyond it being a hilarious episode. I think like it's that beginning, it really just set. No, because I think it really worked too. Because I remember there was like that pinata joke, right? Like after they left and we got that big pinata Andreas. Like, I remember that was like clipped all over Twitter. Like people were going bananas for that joke, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember that was
Yeah,
actually like a really well received gag.
yeah, like it's a little weird because I feel like at least what I remember, the people who didn't like this episode were like people in the subreddit. Like yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
remember. Like
it was a
Yeah.
average
it
Reddit opinion.
is yeah.
Average Redditor opinion.
Yo, they were like ripping this episode up. Like they were like trash
That
talking
was
this episode. And, like
crazy.
every time I was refreshing that page, I was like, uh
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
average
Like,
sub
I don't even,
average subreddit
Oh,
L.
don't worry. I'm gonna shit on Twitter in the next one, in the next batch. Yo, like, can we talk about Old Town Road and Mother of Olms now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, like
gonna
I
run till I can.
like.
Oh wait,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
one more thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just look up Sasha's Angels for a sec. Just one thing. I will say, like, the plot B in Sasha's Angels is like weirdly really good. I sort of am surprised when I first watched it. I was like, oh, this, it was cool, I guess. Like, no, like it's a surprisingly really simple scene, but it's like done really well. Like, you have Sasha who like it's a simple lesson that Sasha learns from Anne from like Battle of the Bands, right? Where Anne's like Sasha is trying to constantly take power over like Anne's decisions and like control like what she's doing all the time. And I like that like Sasha actually learns from Anne. Like her trying to rephrase it. Like when Sasha tells Anne like sometimes you have to have faith in the people around you. You taught me that. That's real. Like that's what Battle of the Bands is about. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, like that scene is like weirdly like really well written. It's not like in your face with Sasha's arc or character growth or anything, which I'm gonna go on Allentown Road about this. But like it's very like I don't know, it just does a really good job of having Sasha and Anne like bounce back and forth while also demonstrating Sasha's growth. And also like allowing the tension Anne has of Sasha to be like naturally built up throughout 3B. Like, I really like that too. Like, it's I don't know. This is a really good scene that's like feels like weirdly, really like not too good, but like really different for Amphibia just to have two characters sit down and just talk and argue and disagree for a whole section. Like, I can't think of any like part of the show that's like that, right? Like that's just two characters in a room like talking to each other, like unless I'm missing something, right? Like
Like
after the rain, maybe
they do end up
kinda.
sparring later on. Like Anne and Sasha have like a little bit of a like sparring match while they discuss everything, which is nice to
Yeah,
keep
but
things
like
like
even then, like
tense.
the yeah, even then, like the sparring thing is more like just a way for them to talk.
Yeah.
Like this is the visually talk, if that makes sense. Like it's to like demonstrate the conflict of their argument. You know what I mean? So like I don't know. It's just like again, it's just Sasha and Anne like talking, pretty much, and like they're talking through swords and sometimes through words. So like I don't know. It's a neat scene. I always like that one. I think that one needs to like not get more attention because Sasha and Anne get enough. Well, okay, Sasha gets enough attention, and then when Anne's with Sasha, then Anne also gets more attention. But like I don't know. I always like that scene. It's really good.
Yeah, and we kind of see like Sasha learning from Anne carries over to like Hometown Road as well. Um,
Yeah.
I think we should start talking about these two. Um, like I thought Hometown Road and Mother of Homes were fantastic episodes. Like
Oh,
I'm
Okay.
I'm used to being kind of like a crazy person when I'm seeing like what my thoughts are on Vivia and then like what the fandoms receive, like what the fandom thinks. But I like season one, so like I'm already like,
Man
but
said it's crazy to like the first act of the show.
no, I'm being kind of dramatic.
yeah.
I'll admit that, but like Hometown Road, like I thought it was like such a neat way to have like the Mother of Olm connection that Anne and the planners found on Earth, and then that kind of ties back to Coraller's past, where like that's the only Olm characters we've ever seen. I know we have like Olm imagery like in different places of the show, but like just this character showing up, like the twins, like the twin Olms, the conjoined Olms, I guess. Like all of a sudden that became relevant again. But just when everyone sort of saw the title of the episodes and that connection back in Fight Museum with Sikh Mother Olm. So it's just like a nice way to like have all their characters like revisit a past episode, like a past setting, and then finding out that there's more like going on underneath all of this. Like this mountain itself like had like the name of the kingdom or the name of the city, Proteus. Like that's the Olm city.
Yeah.
And this episode kind of like wrapped gave me a lot of closure not just like the Mother of Olm stuff, but just the because by the time we get there and like Andreas is already there trying to dig under the city, you kind of don't know what's going. Like apparently, Andreas already knows where Proteus is, so that kind of raises more questions. And then if you go back to like the bucket that Polly had in Hopping Mall, her golden bucket, there was like this really big like monster figure on like this like these little glyphs on her bucket, and people were thinking, oh, maybe that's the knight. And then now that you realize that like this evil figure in those like little drawings is actually Mother Olm and the Newts, you kind of understand like the dynamic between them now. And there's just so much like background
Yeah.
lore that just kind of like explains itself.
Yeah. And I think like I 100% agree with that. And I think like with the alms too, like I really like how they characterize the alm. I love how like I have seen people say like Almtown Road is a pointless episode and you could have just like said the mural in Mother Alm and that's it. But like I so high key disagree with this. Like so much. Like, because you have to know how the Alms work as a civilization to kind of get like some of the core's thought process too. You know what I mean? I loved like the Alms are like super passive and they like ignore problems and issues and they try to like avoid them, which is interesting considering their philosophy on the stones, because they thought that the stones were like this like greater power that they should just leave alone and be passive with and not do anything with, right? Which is like a complete opposite to the newts who are like high who see like infinite power and like why the hell are we not using it? Like this is like why are they just holding like the goddamn Triforce in the palm of their hand? You know what I mean? So like you have to kind of get like an idea of how not only like the newts view the alms, but who the alms are as a civilization too, to get like basic things in the story. Like why like no character has seen an alm for a long time. Things like that. So like I don't know. I don't know. It's like if you're not choosing to pay attention to like the characterization of the Alm civilization, you're inadvertently, I'd argue, also choosing to ignore bits about Andreas or Aldrich or the core or like even like things like that. So like I don't know, like I really liked Almtown Road bringing that with like Parisia and stuff being like just ignore bad shit even if it's like directly in front of you. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, and okay, I get why people didn't like Mother of Olms because like of all the gross out humor, but like
Yeah.
was everyone's like okay? I saw Tumblr, not Tumblr, mostly Twitter. I saw a lot of people that weren't really yeah, and I agree with Chuck. Like just the gross out humor. That's why you don't like the episode. It's kind of and also the prophecy stuff. I know I've mentioned it in the past about the prophecy stuff. It's like just because I know people saw the message back in A Day at the Aquarium. You flip through the pages, you decode the prophecy back in 2020. It's like people who do notice that are like, I would say maybe 1% of Amphibia fans. You have like the general audience
Yeah.
who is not going to pick up on that. Like, I know people who
Yeah.
watch the show casually. It's like, when I tell them, oh, this prophecy was mentioned like in this frame back in season 2, it's like a complete shock to them. So it had to be explained properly to the audience. So I
I
still
think
consider
like
that something that needed to happen. And it
I
should.
I agree too. I think. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Thumb.
no,
I
no, go
keep
ahead. Go
cutting you
ahead.
off. Okay, I was gonna say I agree with you. I think like to be fair, I think something to keep in mind is that most people who are giving their opinion about the show during that time are not considering what you're considering. like like they're talking from just their perspective. Like they know about the prophecy. We know about the
Yeah.
prophecy. You know what I mean? So I get why people were frustrated. Though like you get more information beyond the prophecy from Mother Ulm. Like you learn like how Anne can give the powers to Sasha and Marcy. You know what I mean? Like they can still activate them and such, and how that's the case. So like it's still giving you information you don't necessarily know about. Beyond just the prophecy. And even then, like, we don't really know what the prophecy really means. Even like three stars burning bright come from beyond to expel the night. Like, we don't really get like what's the night? Like, oh, the night isn't the even the core, it's like
The event.
it's yeah, it's like it's Amphibia's past stealing its present. It's the worst versions of themselves constantly trying to maintain its dark past, like in the present. It's Amphibia, it's the girl saving Amphibia from its from its greatest evil, right? So like from its like in imperial past. So it's you don't really get that. Like in season 2, like we don't know like what's the core about? What are the ancient newts about? What are the alms about? We don't really have that any of that context. You know what I mean? So like I think people saying the prophecy is useless, I get it. I get why. I felt that way too. I was like, when Mother Olm said that, I was like, bruh, I already know this stuff. Like, why are you telling me this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely felt it, but I do think after a while, like once we got the core and the king, I was kind of like, no, this kind of adds a lot. I think the prophecy is adding like a lot more to the narrative themes of the text. It's adding a lot more thematic value. I think you have a lot more context of it once you know more about the alms. So I don't know, like I feel like if you try to just like think that you're getting the same information, I understand, but like if you try to think of it deeper of like, oh, like what are the themes of the story? The story is about change, like, and it's about not like it's about change, and the opposite of that is like not letting go of the past and letting that define you, right? So I don't know. I just like implore people to like if you're gonna talk about the prophecy, think about what it means to like the thematic elements of the piece. That's all I ask. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember why people didn't like were kind of like critical of Old Town Road. Like,
Uh, I think it's because a little bit of Sasha's characterization is a little too direct. Like it's very much Sasha just kind of says her like problem out loud. She's like, everyone deserves a second chance, and like, oh, you know what? I think what happened was beginning of the end. You know how like Sasha's like, everyone deserves a second chance. In the beginning of the end, Sasha's like, fuck Marcy, she doesn't deserve a second chance. Like,
oh,
yeah, like I think that's what happened with this episode, which actually like I don't even think that's a contradiction of Sasha's character. I actually think that makes perfect sense
yeah,
considering
because
what we
like
see in True Colors.
Sasha wasn't personally affected. That's why she's kind of like more defensive of the Olm twins.
Lysol and
Yeah,
Angwin.
Lysol Langren.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and like that's also like a nice. It's also like Sasha, like what's the word? Like, I always felt like it was also Sasha trying to make up for Percy and Braddock a bit. You know what I mean? Like being empathetic to this duo that like has messed up in the past before. You know what I mean? Like with Marcy though, it's like very different because the dumb what you said, like she's not personally affected by Lyso and Angwin like fucking up. You know what I mean? Like but with Marcy, like she's had to fight a whole like I don't know how long losing war against Terminator robot. You know what I mean? Like it's it's a very different situation for Sasha to forgive Marcy. So yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, in fact, yeah, you basically covered what I was going to bring up. Just in regards on Town Rob Saturday. I had that like a while, but like, yeah, pretty much that. Like, there wasn't really because I think yeah, part of the fun of some shows really just again the unpredictability, just like the fun of her stories and just the impact, like the sort of self-damage she would do to herself for her own stories. And I feel like this, you basically already would know what the story is. There's less engagement with you when you just know exactly where it's going to go, right? Like we pretty much knew that okay, she's just projecting. She's literally just projecting, and for the 11 minutes, we're just waiting. Like so, there really isn't any intrigue of Sasha here. She isn't really here to like forgive herself. It's been a
Oh,
while since I've seen the episode, so it's like I mean, they're really. I mean, I think I like everything else, but yeah, this is. I know we were saying like our least favorite Sasha episode. Maybe I'll say this is my least favorite. I don't know, but like I think for
I
me,
think
yeah, this is definitely. I was, you know what I mean? I was not that
I would
entertained.
agree.
But
I would
everyone else is great. Flankers are great. The flames are great. I would love. But go ahead.
I would say like I would agree with you. I think Old Town Road is my least favorite Sasha episode, which I mean doesn't really say a lot, to be honest. But like, like to be fair, like okay, if we're talking about like the solo, like no, yeah, hold on, it's not a trinity. It's like a whatever. Like I think out of all like the Sasha episodes, I do think Old Town Road is a little more of the basic one, kind of like pretty obvious what they're doing with the character. I felt like the cool thing about Sasha, and I think Commander Ann gets this right, where like Sasha doesn't always learn a good lesson at the end of her episode. You know what I mean? Like Barrow's Warhammer, Grimes, like what does he say? Like every dream has its price, and not everyone is willing to pay it. Like what kind of lesson is that? That's not gonna help Sasha out right now. It's not like you know what I mean? Like Sasha's always kind of learning like kind of a wrong lesson in her episode a bit. Like even in Turning Point, right? She's like, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better for Anne and be someone that she deserves. She's like playing for Sasha for Anne's want and desires, which isn't necessarily like a healthy thing. You know what I mean? Or like Toadcatcher, right? Like Sasha like ends up that episode going, haha, I should be more of a bitch and control more things. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's that was always, I think, a missing part of Hometown Road, where like Sasha's just like I'm good now, and like she's good, and then like that's it. You know, like it's not anything crazy. Like it's cool character exploration. I like seeing Sasha like as a different person. I didn't really feel like it's like doing anything cool for the character. You know what I mean? At least something like Olivia and Yunan for Marcy is neat. You know, like with the projections and stuff. Like I don't know, like it it just feels like a weird character episode for Sasha. Again, good way of showing the character's growth, but it's not really doing anything cool to like not explore, like challenge the character. There we go.
Yeah, it's just not much of a story. Just not much of a story. There just really isn't really anything you're hooked in to see. I mean, it's like, you know, of course, I'm being a bit of a dick. Yeah, I'm being a bit of a dick soccer fan. So they ate it up. They ate that shit up. You know, it was like dog food. They're like,
This is
they
dog
ate
food.
it. Like, it was like, but it's like I'm just being a hater. I'm just being a hater. You know, it's like the
Wow.
retrospective. Like all my chains are off. But like, yeah, I mean, it was certainly. I'm not going to say it was the episode of all time, still in Flanders, but I don't know. It was something. It was something. I feel like we basically said all we could. Like it just wasn't that. Like compared to all the other Sasha episodes, like it was not as juicy.
That's fair.
Like, I guess it's not as, I don't want to say interesting, because like when Sasha's being kind of like not learning the wrong lesson, there's so many ways to kind of like interpret it. But like here, it's like she's doing the right thing now, so it's more straightforward, but it's good for her character, just not as speculative.
Yeah, it's. Pretty much. I mean, I feel like you're right. It's just because that was always like the crazy. Because again, that was just part of the fun of her. It was just they were like she was a very dynamic character, right? Just like they're like she was a dynamic character that produced like these very dynamic stories. Like, there was always just like a lot to pull out of her stories. But I feel like with this, it's just this sort of one note emotion that just goes on for the whole episode, right? Like it isn't really there really isn't like because with it was because it's funny because with Barrow's Warhammer you could I mean you know she's going down the wrong path, you know she's just good, but I don't know because it's interesting because they set up Percy and Braddock to throw us off to really make us question whether or not she will actually commit to being how she normally is, and I think like and so she throws him aside. That's a big twist that gets us. And by the end, Percy and Braddock, they walk. Like, they're just done. Like, that's another big twist showing off a consequence of her action. But then there's even a moment where she tries to chase after them and maybe force someone to stay with her. And Braddock has to stop her. Like, it's all those, I don't know. It's all those, it's very like, I don't know. It's just, it's this story that's just unpredictable, right? It's just unpredictable. Like, it just, there's tons of things, tons of those moments like that packed in that just make it feel very alive. And with this, it's a very straightforward story that doesn't really do much comparison to the other ones that we have something. But I mean that's all I got. I feel like I kept on being my points, but like
Okay. Yeah, then I think we can. I feel like with Mother of Olms, we kind of like discussed everything. Old Town Road covered everything.
Mother Homes is peak fiction. I forgot to say.
Yeah, of course. Yo, stealth. Okay, I know it's not retrospective. It's just like I just love a stealth hop hop episode.
Yeah, my boy. Like, oh, Jesus.
Like, I guess we can go into the Corn the King now, and I feel like whenever we talk about Andrews here, I know it's gonna be brought up next time when we start talking about the finale, but it's like I guess we can talk about you know who did nothing wrong? Beryl.
Barrel.
Beryl Beryl's just a swell guy trying to do the right thing, and even when he even when he was against Leaf and just showed a little bit of hesitation, Andrew's just like, send this dude far away from me to like the edges of the most dangerous parts of Amphibia, let him rot there. And it's like it's like
Man just drew him to die. Like,
and then
like
and then Andrews, when he's like realizing he messed up, he's just like, oh, leave, and doesn't mention a barrel at all. Like, come on.
that's hilarious. Yeah, when like Marcy's like calls him Dreas and Andrew's like, only one person has ever called me that, and it's like, what? What do you mean? Barrel's right there. Like, did he just forget? Like, it was. Sometimes I wonder if that was like a legit like error from the writers, or like that was like an actual character beat. I don't know. In All In, like it always cracks me up. Like I don't know.
Yeah, poor guy. Poor guy. I always forget about that. Like that was actually like I don't know what Andrews' problem was.
Yeah.
Like the Core of the King, like I'm trying to think what can we talk about like in retrospective. Like I guess
Without
Leaf's
talking about the finale,
yeah, like I
that's
guess
fine.
Leaf's vision, like people kind of thought that the multiverse was like like using the gems was damaging the multiverse. But then now we kind of find out it's just like
This is a core being a dick.
yeah.
which I like actually. I think that was always a really cool thing about the Vision, like because it allowed it so then because as an audience, right, we don't know what's causing the moon to fall. So like we're like technically like what's the word like Leaf and Aldrich get to have like a legit argument because Leaf thinks like, oh, this is like a natural occurrence that's coming. Like, and the more we use like the gem's power, like maybe like the moon's getting more corrupted or something like that. It's having some like unnatural like effect on the multiverse. But like it wasn't necessarily like that. But like with the core was immediately like, nah, hell. Like keep in mind, the core has no clue what Leaf's vision actually showed. He doesn't know about like the moon falling down and stuff. I would assume. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, but the core
I got
knows
the
has
vibe.
all that stuff up there.
Yeah. But I always assumed that Leaf never specifically said what was in the vision. Because I feel like if Andreas knew about it, he could have connected the dot that like if Andreas knew like the moon's falling and then like thousands of years later he figures out, yo, the core has like a thing that will like blow up the planet for some reason from the moon. I feel like he would have like connected the dot of what Leaf was trying to do. You know what I mean? So like I feel like there would have been a really different vibe with Andreas and Leaf, if that makes sense. If Andreas could knew specifically what was in the vision. But I don't know. I always like that like Aldrich and Leaf get to like legitimately argue. And like Leaf is like right about not using the box. We know. You know what I mean? But like Ancient Utopia doesn't necessarily know that. It could all for all we know, like all like Ancient Utopia knows, Leaf could just be like talking crap. Like could be completely lying, like just for the sake of getting the box and whatnot. So I don't know. I always like that vagueness to it. It was always like a good way of allowing like tension between like Andreas and his friends and like his like Andreas' relationship with the core and stuff slash Aldrich. I mean, Aldrich is the core, pretty much. So, but like, I don't know. I always like that scene. That was really cool.
Honestly, I don't even know what to add like to this episode that we've like talked like this is like a very monumental episode like the Core and the King. Like it's like yeah, because again, this is just man, I don't know. This is I don't know. Yes, in my opinion, I feel like, the best stories always they're just so dynamic. I mean, they have like all these different moving parts. Like because the Core of the King of the Rings, like tons of like lore questions we had across the whole series. The other brings together like all these like all this intrigue we had in like the backstory of like certain characters. It brings together just those Anne and Andrea's parallels. We love that shit. We love that
Yeah,
shit. Like we
I
truly
mean,
understand the hurt that defines the both of them and how they chose to handle that pain. Like it's all really good, but also impact. Go ahead, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say like one thing I want to keep in mind here too is that like as we're getting like Anne and Andrea's parallels, we're also getting like obviously the Anne Andrews parallels like Andrews' relationship with his father, right? With the core, constantly manipulating him to follow in his own like in its own wants and desires, no matter what, right? Which like is an obvious foil to Sasha's relationship with Anne too. So keep in mind that like we're not just setting up Anne v. Andreas, we're also setting up Sasha versus the core too. Like that's also important. I want to like keep that in the back of our head when we get to the finale too, because like like when we were talking about like I remember the recording for it when you guys were talking about it, we're trying to find like Andreas, Leaf, and Beryl represent and like the trio's friendship. But I'd make the argument that like Anne and like Andreas and the core are supposed to be a lot more like the foil to the girls. You know what I mean? Like with obviously with the core like being that peer pressuring like toxic influence that like forces Andreas to do things he ultimately doesn't want to do. And Andreas is in that position where he's like, I must follow my lord no matter what. It's a super toxic, twisted dynamic that's like obvious reflection of Anne's relationship with Sasha and Marcy. So I like that the Court and the King is like naturally setting up like is establishing that dynamic a little more. I think by Olivia and Yunan, you could kind of figure it out. You know what I mean? Like with the whole like the core going like, yo, let's possess Marcy. Andrews is like, okay, but like no. And the core's like, shut up, idiot. And then like does it anyway. You know, so like you already could figure that out, that dynamic by O and Y. But I think the core and the King is making it really obvious, like who our narrative foils are, like in this story. And I think the core also foils Marcy too, as well. I think that was clear by O and Y too. This is a little different, and if that makes sense. So like, I don't know, like I forgot where I was going with this. But like it is something to keep in mind that Sasha is also getting her narrative foil established as well in this episode, not just Anne. So I think that's a critical part to like kind of Andreas and the core in general, personally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I mean, no, yeah, no, you're like 100,000% right. I was that's my problem. I always like I gotta I don't know. I just love the Anne Andrea stuff so much, but no, I think that's it's just yeah, no, it really is amazing that Amphibia just has so many different relationships packed in that, like, you know what I mean? That all just act in like all act like foils and parallels with each other, just exploring like the different, just the nature of relationships. I think like it's very very interesting that it just 'cause I don't know I would not have expected that because it's like you have the original trio, then you have the Calamity Trail, then you have the Planters, and you have Marcy and Andrews, then you have Sasha and Grind, then you have Andreas and the Core, and then you have maybe you can even say maybe you have Andreas and Darcy. Like it's very I don't know it's very interesting that they show the good and the bad of relationships. They show why certain elements of relationships are stronger than others. They show why you need certain things. They show why you should not have certain aspects. Like I think it's like I don't know. It's very interesting how you said that all out.
Yeah, they cut a
yeah,
lot of stuff in the boards. Like they had the part where Anne just kind of like wakes up Darcy from like the memory optimization thing. He kind of like there's like hesitation when he flicks the switch. But then the deleted scene, not deleted scene, in the cut storyboards, they had Darcy giving a talk about how like that doesn't really do anything. It's just like the switch was just a test for Andreas. And I guess they cut that all out
That was crazy.
because like I guess they already showed how like manipulative the core can be with Andreas, so they didn't. I guess it was just redundant.
Yeah.
I think like I don't know. It's a good question with that. Like I don't know. That scene with Darcy was always really weird to me. Like I don't dislike it. It was just always like it was always really silly. Like Darcy being like, Andreas, I was just fucking with you and wasting your time. Like that was all just a test. Sorry, man. Haha, lol. So like it just feels like it just makes I don't know. I don't know. This is really silly. Like it I guess it gives characterization to Darcy, but I don't know. Like I always like that final line out of Darcy way better. Like with Aldrich like slowly like taking over like Marcy's voice, like it being like, I think I'm almost proud of you. Like I love that. Like it's still playing the Andreas's like want to have love from his father and like appreciation from his ancestors, but like it's it's not giving him fully what he wants, if that makes sense. I don't know. I always liked that. Like it was like I think that's more interesting because it keeps to like how Aldrich was manipulating Andreas throughout the entire story. I think that works a lot better than like Darcy being like, nah, I was just messing with you, dude. I was just wasting your time for no reason. So like, I don't know. I like the original ending I like the ending we got than like the cut storyboard for it personally.
Yeah, same. And I'm kind of struggling to like talk about the Corn of the King because I feel like it's all been like said.
Yeah, and like I'm saving some stuff for the finale because
Yeah.
I feel like because like I have a whole Darcy thing with it where like I'm gonna save it. I think it's more finale talk about the whole character because like I don't know. This is the first time we ever get characterization of Darcy. You know what I mean? Like about how they work or like how her character acts and stuff. So like, and then like by the finale, we're exploring it a little more, a little bit because we only got like 2 episodes, but like they're 2 really good episodes, so I never mind it that much. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess then we can. I think we can go on to back to the army building stuff. Um, yeah, I think we can move on.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not much else. Yeah.
So a bunch of these segments, like the Root of Evil, Grimes Pupil, Newton Tights, Fight or Flight, and then the Three Armies. It's like Amphibia doing a victory lap in terms of like character returns, which I really like. And I think what's really funny is that the Root of Evil was the segment before the Corn the King, and a lot of people were speculating like the Root of Evil would be like a kind of like a the Root of Evil and the Corn the King would be like back to back episodes or very related
yeah.
episodes. Um,
Yeah.
but not me.
Yeah.
Not I. I remember seeing someone mention that they thought Apothecary Gary was coming back in the Root Evil, and I kind of like latched onto that. I was like, yes, this is where Jeremy makes his return, and like. Sorry, I'm just checking the schedule again. I think Grimes Pupils first in terms of airing.
I mean, like you can go straight to Root of Evil. I think we can talk about them in any order. Like,
Okay, yeah, like I think I was messaging. Oh, also more context. The Owl House season 2 was airing at the same time as the
oh
second the
yeah,
second half of the Owl
yeah.
House was airing at the same
Oh
time
yeah.
as Amphibia season 3 second half.
I don't know how I forgot about that. I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, totally
Yeah.
fine. That's not gonna divide our attention at all. Um, sorry, I let me just put my dinner stuff away. Let me just put away the utensils and the salt and the other salt. Um, but I forgot what point I was making with the Owl House stuff. Anyways,
uh,
the Root of Evil, like, oh, okay. The reason I brought that up is because I think while everyone was watching the Owl House, I think Nick and I were watching.
Oh yeah, yeah,
We were watching the Amphibia episode.
yeah.
So I was DMing him, and then I just see we see the episode, and I remember just like this random. It's like a midsummer parody, and everyone's wearing hats. And immediately I was telling Nick, I was like, I got a feeling, like I got a very good
Yeah.
feeling about this. And then the reveal happens, and I was losing my shit. Um, yeah, that was just me being nostalgic, but
Yeah, no. Good times.
like all these episodes, like I just love how all those season 1 episodes kind of had like a very nice like, okay, I shouldn't say a nice ending because some of them were very like cliffhangery, but like because of the nature of season 1, everyone kind of just assumed a lot of stuff would be like a one and done thing. I think with the exception of Tritonio, I think everyone Tritonio was like very well.
Tritonio needed the comeback. He
Yeah,
needed
everyone
the
was
comeback.
like Tritonio was so well received. Everyone was thinking like, okay, he has to make a return. Like even back in season 1, he has to make a return. And so I think Tritonio was like the least surprising return. But Apothecary Gary, because it was a kind of horror episode, that first ending, everyone kind of thought it was just like the fake cliffhanger, just the spooky story isn't really over kind of joke.
Yeah, it was like one and done thing. I was saying that for honestly, I thought Apothecary Gary was like only gonna show up to the spore the spore collar. I didn't think we'd actually see him. Like I swore like it was just gonna be like those collars and that was it. I wasn't expecting to go on a full episode about it. Which like I I I have a thing to say about this a little bit. I'll save it a bit about like I think we were talking about this a little bit with 3A with season 2. Like
Yeah,
I'll save it
people
when we
were.
get there.
No, I think you mentioned like people like were kind of focusing on season 2, like basing their speculations on season 2 instead of including season
Yeah.
1. And like the
Yeah,
spore
and I think
stuff.
like
Okay, go ahead.
it came from season 1. Yeah. I do think though like I would say I feel like 3B when looking back at it now, I think 3B did handle like season 2 stuff well. We had the Alms, we had Ancient Utopia. I just feel like I don't know. Something that always bothered me about like the recruitment arc was that like I really feel like I wish we got to see like new like the aftermath of Utopia getting destroyed. That's something that always bothered me. Like we don't see anything of like modern Utopia after True Colors. That's it. We don't really know what's happened to anyone like any of the townies in season 2 pretty much or like where
Yeah.
they're at or like even like some of like the ones we saw on the road like the Bittyberg people and stuff. Well, no, we saw that. That's a lie. That's not true. We did see the Bittyberg uh people in the in the tunnels. But like, I don't know. It always felt like season 2 was like still mattered, obviously. Like the whole section we just talked about it with it. You know what I mean? But it always felt like I wish season 2 was a bit more involved into like the recruitment process of everything. It did feel um like we kind of lost closure on like those basic Newtopia characters, which is a shame because I felt like we had quite a few to like use. You know what I mean? That just are like snapped out of existence. So like again, I like the season 1 characters coming back. I'm not saying like oh don't bring them back, but I do wish there was like a balance there of like having more of season 2 like beyond the lore. There we go. I think season 2 brings the lore into season 3, but that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to also know, like, I want the characters who we got to meet in Utopia to come back too in some way. So even if it's not like a whole episode, like I would have like liked it a little more because I felt like season 1 definitely deserves that like want to come back, but I think season 2 sometimes gets like hurt by this. So just a smidge.
I mean, looking back, like, yeah, it was kind of odd that they didn't show what happened to the people of Utopia after like the castle took off. But like,
Yeah. Well,
it's really
even like the toads, like oh sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
no, no. I was just gonna mention like, technically, out of all the series, we only spent like 4 episodes or 5 episodes in Utopia. Or sorry, I think 4
Yeah.
episodes in total. Like, because Marcy the Gates was episode 6. So 7, 8, 9, 10. And then Sleepover End All Sleepovers was kind of self-contained. So we didn't really like. I know they showed like Bella the Bellhop and like what's the big newt? Priscilla the Killer.
Priscilla the
Yeah,
killer. Yeah.
yeah. I think Priscilla
Yeah.
and Bella the Bellhop were the only ones who kind of like returned. Like we didn't see Gertie, but
No, we didn't see her. No. Even then, like those are background gags. Those are fake comebacks. Like that's saying like the bog comeback at the beginning of the end is like real. Like that's not a real comeback. That's fake. You know what I mean? Like I don't need them to have a whole episode, but like like being like a background element and like that episode is whack. Like, but like yeah, I don't know. It always felt a little weird, and like we don't even see like the toads that got well. Yeah, I don't think we ever see the toads that got captured by Andreas in in Turning Point. We don't see them again. They are kind of like just out. You know what I mean? And like I'm fine with that. I just am like I think this is like a thing with season 3. Sometimes like using season 2 only for like lore. Sometimes, you know what I mean? And like I don't know. It's a bit of a strange thing. Why I think there could have been a balance there. So.
and yeah, I kind of gushed about Root of Evil,
Yeah,
and
it's peak fiction. But yeah, no, something I will say. Something I will say. In fact, yeah, since you brought up some of your problems too, I think looking back, I was enjoying these episodes as I was going through them, but I don't think I have the full picture. I think something I can admit is that I do think the story does feel kind of light in some ways. I feel like besides all the Sasha and drama, Sasha, sorry, I'm not providing the names for that stuff, but just giving us like these, yeah, providing us stories, like very dynamic energy. I feel like no, there isn't like a single episode in 3B I don't just like I don't enjoy. Like I really like them all actually, but I feel like yeah, you can tell that there wasn't really much of a story left to tell here, right? Like there isn't really
Ooh.
like a setup of like anticipation, then progress, then conclusion. Like it was really just like yeah, like we're gathering. Yeah, like obviously stuff is happening. Like we're gathering the armies. I feel like you know, you can tell. Like part of it is just waiting for us to get to the finale. Like I said this before we started, but it really is just
Yeah.
like we are kind of just waiting to get to Anderson Darcy. Like there
Yeah.
isn't
Uh,
really there isn't, and I'll even say this with the Planters too. There isn't like I love all the Planter episodes here, but it's
I mean,
like
like,
if in 3A you felt like all right, they're out of Planter stories, then 3B is like okay, they're definitely out of Planter. It's like because Hop Pop he gets his dubs. I'm happy about them, but it's like his dubs are like they're like sort of like scattered scenes. Like I won't obviously the one in the beginning then, but I won't talk about that because that's for next one. But it's like Mother Homes. I love that episode. I love what Hop Up gets in that, but it's like again, it's more like a one off episode. It might be a good one off episode, but it's like what is this really a part of besides like yeah, just being a nice little thing for Hop Up. And there's also I'm gonna add like what's another thing? Yeah, there's also Rudy. Like his conflict doesn't really get resolved. Like his whole internal conflict. Like he's like, oh, why don't these refugees fleeing from a war want to talk about vegetables? Why do these refugees want to talk about vegetables? I was like, what the fuck was wrong with him? Like, what the fuck was wrong with him? Like, it was fucking his fucking poor timing. Like, that was so fucking weird. But like
it is so weird too, because
Yeah.
like Hop Pop's skill set is like should be like broken as hell in a world with dying resources. Like Hop Pop can like make like vegetables and stuff like pretty easily. Like you know what I mean? Like that sounds like that should be like a very valuable resource in Sasha's resistance, and no one cares. Like I don't mind like the refugees. Like that's dumb. Like them not like him expecting them to like them is like a little dumb. But like the rest of the resistance, like that's it's a little weird. Sasha wouldn't be like, oh hell yeah, like we get food, let's go. Like you know what I mean? Like
They
I don't
should
know.
have let
It's
him
always a
cook.
Yeah.
weird.
They should have let him
Yeah,
cook.
Show let him cook. Show let him cook. Like
yeah.
it's like overall there's a story going on here, but it's just very light when you have because it's like how do I say this? It's like if I just break like I love breaking this shit down into like small terms, but it's like there's volume, right? There's you have like all these different parts taking up a lot of volume, right, in the
Are
show,
you are you
but
saying
there's
like
like no
this sounds like the F word?
but there's no weight. There's no weight. There's not enough significant weight to these stories. You know what I mean? Like it's like when you finish a story and you really feel like, okay, man, that was heavy. It was a lot. Like think the first temple. Like you have a lot of shit going on there, right? You have like you have like Marcy's arc, you have Anne's arc, you have Hop Pop's arc, you have like Anne and Hop Pop's relationship, you have like the temple quest, you have like the big uh core reveal at the end. Like you have all these moving parts that are complementary. I feel like with 3B, a lot of volume, not a whole lot of weight. Y'all get what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, like
I
what's
I
that
I
formula again?
I,
What's
I,
that
I got
formula
something
again?
to
I
say.
forgot.
I got something to say about that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you done?
I mean, yeah, I guess I'm gonna
Oh,
say I'm
okay,
done.
okay.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I feel like I think the reason we can comfortably like kind of say stuff like, "Oh, like we're just waiting for the finale." It's because the episodes kind of like closed a lot of like chapters on threads that we didn't even know existed. Like I know we talked mostly about like okay, I think it's good that we didn't go into like each segment like too specifically, but I feel like Grimes' pupil, like okay, Newts and Tights, like Tritonio seeing Anne again after she's changed, that's important.
yeah, that's a fun character beat. Like for Anne's character, I think Newton Tights is pretty fun.
Yeah,
I like Anne. I like Anne being like the word of like reason there. That's cool. Like that's something like she was in 2B too, like to Marcy. So like it was always neat to like for her to play that role again for like Tritonio or like sometimes Sasha. It's more like in the finale with Sasha, but you know.
and like out of all the army building episodes, I think Grimes' pupil was the strongest episode because of how much it kind of focused on like the frog toad rivalry and conflict that we've seen since season one,
Yeah.
and having Sprig and Grime kind of like work together, that felt like something that should like something that needed to happen before the finale. And then
Yeah.
Fight or Flight was like I think the most surprising comeback where it kind of has the most I mean looking back at the main like the final like line of the series like of the things you let go, you'd be surprised what makes its way back to you. Like that like Fight or Flight with Domino 2 coming back after Anne like let her go in Domino. Sorry, I'm looking at the name of that episode. The domino effect. Like that's the most like direct kind of example of like the final line that they're setting up at the end of the series. And I just see like I don't think these. I think each of these episodes does like convey a certain kind of message that needs to be set for the finale. And because it does it so well, we're kind of just like and because I think these messages or these things that they're setting up is so part of like Amphibia's like DNA, we're kind of just like, I don't want to say we're brushing it off. We're kind of just like speaking plainly about it.
Yeah, it's like I don't. Yeah, because I feel like I guess in some ways you can say we've gotten used to it or something. Like if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think
I I think I agree with this. I mean, personally, I just think that Newts and Tights and Fight or Flight are kind of paced in a weird position where, like, I think that's my only problem with it. I think Grimes' Pupil and Root of Evil, like, are placed in good ways where, like, they're naturally, like, going with the flow of the story. Where, like, I do think Newts and Tights and Fight or Flight are kind of, like, just, like, kind of a weight. I do agree with Nick that it's a weight to the finale. I didn't feel that way, but I've heard this criticism a lot for these two episodes specifically. Um, Even though there's a lot of fun stuff going on, I'm not gonna lie, guys. We've like we've been waiting for Anne and Sasha to meet Darcy for like who knows how long. I can't blame people for being like, hurry the fuck up. You know
oh,
what I
and
mean?
and Fight or Flight kind
Like,
of like it was very like coy about
yeah,
about the
yeah,
synopsis.
That
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
hilarious.
I was about to mention
My
that
God.
we at the time, like the fandom had thought that like Anne's old friend, oh my gosh, it's gonna be Marcy. We're gonna get an Anne v Darcy like episode. This is gonna be awesome, which I think would have been sick, to be honest. I think like the way they used the character was still good, but like I would have that would have been pretty cool. I don't know how they would have did it without the castle. Like I don't know how that would have worked. Um, but it still would have been cool. But like, yeah, I don't know. I can't blame people for being a little like get on with it with these parts of this episode because I do think Newts and Tights and Fight or Flight are placed just a little poorly, where they're not naturally intersecting with like plot episodes to like work with it. I feel like even 3A got this right. You know what I mean? Like with Spider Sprig or Hollywood Hot Pop, where like yeah, Spider Sprig would be like a fun, goofy one, but then you have like Olivia Unan right next to it. You know what I mean? Or like you had Hollywood Hot Pop, then you had If You Give a Frog a Cookie, right? There's always something that was like moving the narrative forward. It didn't feel like it was like standing still, and I do feel like Newts and Tights and Fight or Flight can do that to me. But I again, like I still like these episodes, but like I don't even think it's just us getting used to it. I just think they're put in a poor place. There we go.
I think the episode we got with these army building episodes, if it was reversed, I think it would have worked better. So like,
Like, what do you mean?
so the order we got them in was, well, let me pull up the list. We got Grimes' Pupil, then the Root of Evil, then Newts and Tights, Fight or Flight. I feel like it might have worked better for like the pacing and like the situation if we had like Fight or Flight first, then Newts and Tights, then the Root of Evil, then Grimes' Pupil, and then go into the Three Armies. Because I feel like the Toads were the kind of like
Wait,
the
how would?
most. Oh, I know there's like a couple scenes like Leaf's letter.
Yeah, and like I don't know what the core of the king would be at. I don't know. I guess it would be ordered with. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Oh,
matter.
because Grimes' Pupil was before the Corn the King.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, the letter C could still work though.
yeah. I agree with that. I think you could, though. It'd be a little like a little silly, but well, like a little silly how they have to function it. Like how would someone else could find the letter? I don't know. There's ways to make it work. It's writing. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like, you know
But
what I mean?
yeah, I just think because there's the most conflict because the Toad Frog conflict had the most kind of like backstory and the most like antagonistic conflict. of the army building episodes. I think that would have worked better as like kind of like the Toads were like the hardest people to recruit, and now that we've got everyone else on board, it's like they're the last ones. And then you throw in like, you know,
I
the true main character Sprig, you know, like getting his massive W.
I will say, oh, here we go. Okay, so like, look, like I like Apothecary Gary, but like
No,
I
wait,
always,
choose
yeah,
your words
always,
carefully.
always,
Let it get
yeah,
kicked out of the
this
bowl.
I'm gonna
You're about to be
say it.
banned. You're about to be banned.
I don't, I don't think we needed Root of Evil. Okay, we already had the spore collars already. I was totally okay with Apothecary Gary not coming back. I would have been cool with it. I would have liked it if like I think pacing wise, I always felt like to me we easily could have had like Grimes people, Newts and Tights, and like you could easily make that work and would work perfectly fine. I know you'd lose Domino too, which I mean personally, I always wish you could make that work in the first half of 3B, and I think you'd make it work fine. Like I like Apothecary Gary coming back. I don't know, man. It always felt like to me like you easily could have used like just brought him back with the spore collars and I would have been cool with it. It's a fine episode, but like I don't know, man. If I had to pick like I think if I had to pick a character to come back from season 1, Gary and Tritonio would be it. Like 100%. Like I just feel like with the time that we had, I feel like pacing wise, it just would have been better to just get Beatrix and Tritonio in the mix. And like that's that's it. Like, and this is coming from someone who like likes fight or flight too. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I just feel like pacing wise, like it's always a little like iffy with Root of Evil. And like I don't know. And even with Hot Pop's like thing in that episode, he's not really like learning a real lesson in that. And Mother Olm is like okay, but like it feels like it doesn't really feel like a problem Hot Pop has always had with Mother Olm with his character. So I mean, you know what? Honestly, hold on. Here we go. Like, you could have like replaced Root of Evil with like I don't know a Polly episode. She gets benched this half of the season for no reason until like the finale. I don't know why they did that. Like, you're in a whole like post-apocalyptic robotic world, and we like are not using her. And I was so weirded out. Like in Hometown Road, when they're like pressing like the switches or whatever and the buttons, I'm like, oh shit! Like, Polly's gonna do something, right? Like, oh my god! Like all this like fixing Frobo is gonna be like a huge like thing in like the Resistance arc. Nope, that wasn't the case, and she doesn't get really a moment till the finale. So I don't know. I don't dislike Root of Evil. I just always felt like if I had to remove one like episode, like one recruitment episode, it'd be that one. All right. If I had to like stab in the chest one of them, it would be that one. There we go. I have to say it. All right.
You know who I would stab in the chest?
Who? Dumb.
I don't want to say. No, no, I'm kidding. No, to be, I do agree. Like, I wish Polly got an episode, and I kind of was hoping Grimes' pupil would be about her and Grime.
Yeah. I do think Grimacer was a good call though. I do
Yeah,
think they were. I think the way they bring it back from like from their fight in true colors was so good. I was ragging a little bit about how season 2's used, but I will say I think Grimes' pupil does like the best job of like naturally bringing true colors like into the show, if that makes sense. Like it felt like a natural expansion of that fight in True Colors, which is like a very small fight. Like it's not like when you talk about True Colors, you're not gonna no one's gonna make like a whole video essay about Grime and Sprig's fight. What does this mean to their character? It's like no. But like Matt was like, nah, hold on, we're gonna make this work, and made a whole episode based around it. And like again, the whole fandom wasn't even talking about it when I remember. You know what I mean? I just find that interesting. Guys People like naturally brings a conflict from season 2 back into the show. Naturally builds upon like the recruitment arc and what's going on. Does a cool job expanding on Grimes' like character. Like I just wanted to go into gush of God's People. That episode's a banger. Like that
Yeah,
is the underrated episode. Like
it's funny
I
as
love
hell.
that
So, like it really because it really pushed like all the cartooniness of the show, man. Like I still remember. Like wait, let me see what happened. Let me because there's this really funny screenshot I have of him literally shoving his fist in Sprig's face, and it's like, and it just takes up his like entire body. It's just it's a really good episode. Like I do wish it was
Yeah.
celebrated more. Like, but I feel okay. The annoying thing is I feel like its legacy is basically just like, you know what I mean, when people are like, part of its legacy, and this is very annoying. It's like, how do I even begin to say this, man? It's like
It's just
people
bundled
are
with all the other army building episodes, to be
like,
honest. Like
yeah, and I think like an unfortunate phrase, and it's driven me crazy. That people were like, I don't know, I can't bring myself to say it. It hurts to say. People go like, oh, this, yeah, no, we complain about the fan enough.
Miss Potential.
Let's see. I'm not gonna say it. Nah, like, I'm not. Nah, it's not even. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say it. Like
missed potential.
Yo, I hate like oh my god.
I don't know why that cracked me up. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Like, I will say, like, it's probably honestly, Guardians People probably doesn't get talked about because like we don't get a lot of Amphibia content in from fandom. To be fair, you know what I mean? Like usually, like we just don't get that like out of the community that much. If the amphibians don't have anything to do with the girls, it's Jover for them. Like we're not we're not gonna talk about them. And like I don't. That's not like a critique on like fandom content. By the way, I want to keep that in mind. That like you go make what you want. Like the girls are my favorite part of the show too. Like I'm gonna make stuff about the girls. You know what I mean? Like I totally get it. It's not like me trying to like guilt trip like the fandom being like, oh, why don't you guys make this? How come the girls get more content? Like,
yeah.
no.
Oh my god.
Like,
Yeah. Fucking. Oh my god. Yeah.
this is the dumbest argument. But like I'm just saying like Grounds People, I don't know. Grounds People was a banger. I think it's a cool way of exploring his like relationship with Sasha too a bit. I think it's interesting that like Sasha uses her like leadership skills and finding people's strengths and skill sets to manipulate at first, but then she starts using it to like know how to lead people and like understand what they're good at and what they can do like to help out in the army. And then you have like Grime who uses that same skill a little differently. He uses it as a teacher. He notices, oh, like crap, like Sprig is like he's pretty fast and he's pretty quick. If you like harness it in the right direction, it could be something really good. That's interesting. Like, I love that Sasha was a leader and Grime became a teacher. That's cool. That's like I don't know. Like that was always a part of like when Matt was talking about this episode, he was hyping this up. You know what I mean? Like he was like, "Oh, this is one of my favorite episodes in this season." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." And like I kind of get why, because it's exploring the Grimes character in a really clever way. So I don't know. Again, like I can say all I want that I want people to talk about these episodes more, but like like that's just how it is, I guess. But like, yeah, Grimes People is a banger. I think it does a great job exploring Grimes' character. So
I think we can go into the three armies unless Nick, you do have anything to add to like the.
Um,
I mean, we had
I
Soggy
think you guys
Joe.
already. I think. Oh yeah. Soggy Joe. Soggy. No, I've gone on. I've gone on. I think yeah. I was gonna say. I think like yeah. Just the air again. Just the air. Like the whole. Oh, I would. There's a part of me that was like. Actually, I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but yeah, there was a part of me. I do like that we got to see this like we got this episode about like a very interesting relationship. But part of me, I was definitely one of those people who wanted like a Sasha and Sprig episode, like just so because
Yeah.
their rivalry is like it's legendary. It's like one of the funniest parts of the show, just the shittiness these
Yeah.
two give each other. Like I did want to see like an epic conclusion to like it's just like a nice. I don't know because it's so funny when they're giving each other shit. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to put that out so we could like, before we moved on.
I think like one thing I want to say is like I do feel like it's a little weird. I feel like the planters like it's always strange that we don't really get the planters' opinion on Sasha throughout this entire time with them. Like with Marcy, right? Like we know how the planters feel about Marcy. You know what I mean? Like when they first show up. And I think like after the betrayal, we don't know, and it's a little weird. like I even expected like a "I told you so" joke from Sprig. Like obviously he probably wouldn't because Marcy got stabbed in the chest. That'd be a little like insensitive. But like like I expected like a little more. Like, oh, how do the planters feel about the girls? I do think that isn't like an important part of like of the planters is how they react to like Sasha and Marcy too. But like in this season, it feels a little weird. It always feels like they're like separated instead of like like it feels like Anne's life, the planter part of her life and the friend part of her life really feels super divided this season. That always felt a little strange to me. Like they don't like intersect. You don't have like an episode where Spriggs goes like, Sasha might be a jerk or like Marcy betrayed us. There's nothing really anything like that. It's always a little weird. Um, I don't know. Am I the only one who's noticed this, or am I crazy? Like,
Like,
Like this disconnect between the planters and like the trio, like all the damage they
yeah,
caused. Yeah,
yeah,
I think season
yeah,
two
that
had a lot of
actually,
that with
yeah,
Marcy part of the
yeah, a
group.
lot, yes, yeah, yeah, when they have Sprig, yeah, actually, you're right. It's yeah, honestly, no, that is interesting. I'm trying to think, yeah, because it's like I was with the go like, oh yeah, no, they definitely should have done that. But then I was like, how
But even season
now
two, it
I'm
was
just trying to
kind
think
of
like what would that add? But oh,
I know.
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, dumb, you go, you go.
no, because I think even in season two with Marcy, it wasn't too deep. Like,
Yeah,
and even season three wasn't that deep either. Just like Sasha was kind of like more like chill with the planners and like they were kind of more chill with Sasha. Like, I think like Paulie was like making fun of Sasha about something.
I still think it was like interesting because you had like I think it was important that the planters like we know like they like Marcy like Hop Hop and Polly are like yo Team Marcy let's go and Sprig's like I don't know she might be a douche and then like after the end of the episode all right she's not you know what I mean like it's a simple thing but like I think like I don't know I think I just like the planters being a part of Anne's like friend life a
We
bit
clip
more if that
like we
makes
should clip.
sense.
More of it. Keep going. That's my bad. Keep going.
Yeah, like I just felt like it's a like I wanted to know like how does Sprig think about new Sasha? Is she suspicious of her? I mean, is he suspicious of her? You know what I mean? Like I don't know because you get some funny like interactions with like Sasha and like Hop Hop and Grimes Pupil, where like Sasha like couldn't messes up the cheerleading song like she didn't even change it because she's too busy getting stuff done. Like, and Hop Hop calls her out. Like, that's funny. That's great. Or like Sasha and Polly like interacting in Mother Ohm and stuff. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just seems like there's a disconnect sometimes when it really doesn't need to be. I guess. Like there's these fun interactions, but there isn't like. I feel like Marcy always did a better job with this than Sasha to me, in terms of like Marcy feels like she's integral to Anne's life and also like important beat to the planters too. So
Yeah, that's a fair observation. Like, I think remember how Yunin made that like line about like backstabbing, like humans always backstabbing in Olivia Yunin. I feel like that's something like one of the planners would have like brought up Or at least Sprig would have
Yeah.
brought that up, and then like someone else tells him to like hush.
Like I swore down it was gonna. I didn't. I swore Sprig was gonna be like, yo, I was right. Like after some time, like they knew Marcy was okay. Like after like Sasha was like, yo, Marcy. Okay, well Marcy's not okay. Like ever in this season. Like yeah, she's like alive, but like then she gets like possessed and she's still like trapped in the castle. You know what I mean? Like she's not like what's the word? Like
100%.
Marcy's never okay. Yeah, like even like and that's why I still get when people were complaining about like why isn't Anne talking about Marcy again? Like in 3B, I kind of got it because there was kind of a point where like it wasn't really mattering. Oh, is Marcy alive? No, the question was more like how does Anne feel about Marcy? But like anyway, like yeah, I don't know. It's like I just always expected like to see like the planters' reaction to like the girls and stuff. And I think like you, Livia, like having like mainly like Yunan being a little like sus about like trusting Marcy and Sasha. I think it's like always a cool part to like them. I would have liked for the planters too. You know what I mean? Or like I don't know. Maybe I'm getting to like fan fiction territory now, but like even like Grimes' like thought process on Anne. I don't know. We never get that. That could have been a cool combo too. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. This like fuel for like any fanfic writers out there. There you go.
Hey, honestly, I don't think you're wrong for thinking about any of this because again, it just adds. I'm gonna switch it out. I'm gonna switch it out. I think people more commonly relate density to volume, so I'm gonna wait. No, it's mass divided by volume, right? Okay, actually, no, I should go with weight. Okay, yeah, no, I think you're right. It does add more weight to the stories. I think just to have these like sort of deeper relationships instead of just having them be sort of one-off gags because I did like I don't know because it just reminds me of film. I think you and PC like PC is another. Well, I mean, well, the viewers already know what PC is, but like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
like they. Because I remember you guys talking about how like oh Grimes totally gonna respect Anne now because he saw how powerful she is in true colors, right? Like it was like he was gonna be like he was I don't know he was gonna be like bending the knee to her and stuff and just being totally supportive of it. I don't know, just all these potential dynamics. Like I feel like we were all feeling it out, but I think it's like yeah, it wasn't also, yeah, unfortunately, wasn't there. I think honestly, if you say impact, I think I would have loved that too. Just like these deeper dynamics. Honestly, I would have loved that.
Yeah, like, I think you get hints of it though. Like, okay, like when Grime was like in the Commander Anne, it's the one of my favorite scenes. He's like, yo, what's up, Anne? And like, Commander, what? It's a small
Yeah,
scene, and then Grime's like to Sasha, like, bro, you gave her the helmet. What are you thinking? Like, like that's hilarious. Like, I love
office
stuff like
politics.
that. Like, and you hear like Grime talk about like she doesn't even know how like Amphibia works or whatever. That's great. That's cool. Like, or like how like Polly and like Sasha are like kind of like bouncing off each other in like Mother Ulm, for example. That's a cool dynamic. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, there's these snippets of it of really cool stuff, or like Hop Hop and Sasha like yelling at each other in Ground Pupil too, right? Like, you you have these snippets of like really cool like character exploration here. I feel like I would have liked just more of it. Like I would have loved the whole episode on just Sprig and Sasha, or like even like Hop Pop and Sasha. Like that would have been cool. Or Grime and Hop Pop. You know what I mean? Like like I or like Anne and Grime. There's a lot of combo potential there with like the amphibians in general. So yeah.
Yeah, there's like yeah, there's so
Yeah,
much like I wish we got to see all this stuff. It's like yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's the yeah me. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, like I wish like we got more with Sprig and Marcy. Paul, like especially Sprig and Marcy, and then Polly and Sasha, because those two, like those pairs, like feel like the most. I know I think I've said it before, but it's like it feels like Anne joined this family where she has to deal with like a younger Sasha and a younger Marcy.
I know what you mean.
And it's like it would have been nice to see the younger ones like interact with the older ones, just because like you can see how like Polly and Sprig are a little bit more like better adjusted than Marcy and Sasha are in some ways.
Yeah, yeah. Sasha and Marcy are little schemers, little schemers. So
I mean, even
yeah,
Polly's kind of scary. Just like I guess Polly has like a higher. It's not too
like
retrospective-ish, but it's like Polly is like more destructive than Sasha, but just is more like I don't know, is more innocent because she's like a baby. But then like
yeah.
compared to like Sprig and Marcy, I think Sprig just like has a higher like emotional intelligence.
Dang, we're saying Spring's like 11 years old. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I guess they're
it's
not
two.
that different
Yeah, it's
age.
2 years. It's not that
Yeah,
much. But it's like,
yeah. I never mind, never mind. I guess I don't know. Maybe I was thinking like, never
oh
mind. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, I mean, even then, just, I mean, yeah, it's like, I'm not wrong. Yeah, like Sprig is more emotionally
yeah.
like mature than than like most people on the show. Actually,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why I find that funny.
you
Like
know, it's
the
like
11-year-old is more emotionally mature than everyone else.
when it comes to like Anne and like her friend group, like Sprig is like he's like 300 IQ, and then it's like everything else. Sprig is just like has the attention span of like a fly, which is why we love him.
Yeah.
But I think we can talk about the three armies now. Like I do like Impact how you brought up like the grime kind of respecting Anne's power, because like yeah, Commander Anne he's kind of just like level with Anne, but like I definitely like I think he mentioned like maybe Anne should have like brought up that she has like superpowers to like recruit everyone.
Actually, yeah, that would have. Yeah, that probably would have helped.
Yeah,
Probably would have helped them.
but for the three armies, how like Anne's like the mediator, and how like that's the only award she's ever gotten. It's like
Mm.
damn, like
Yeah,
Anne of the year must have been like that's like now you
actually,
know
yeah,
why
yeah.
she was like super like I know they're like retroactively like kind of like giving the storytelling stuff, but like
I mean, it fits.
yeah, it fits and it hits hard. Like once you rewatch like Anne of the Year, and it's like oh this is
Yeah,
like
and I think,
the second award she's ever gotten.
yeah, and Darno, I'm just gonna say, yeah, I think, God, this is, yeah, I think this episode is easily overshadowed because it comes right before the finale. But I think this is generally just one of Amphibia's like best episodes, man. Like it just has like so much good stuff packed into it. Like that, yeah, just it's like that joke where they reveal like, hey, that's Anne's only other award, right? Like that, like what even was it? It was like, and you had like Sasha and Marcy's incredible like honors right next to it. It was like this photo of her settling this whole dispute between like I don't know like some band kids and sport kids, but like it's I don't know. I think there's stuff like that all packed throughout it that just like I don't know that just like really make this a great episode because it's about Anne, it's about Sasha, it's about Amphibia as a whole, right? Like there's like a lot of stuff going on. There's like a lot of great jokes. Like yeah, it's breaking. Like yeah, I might have said like okay, 3B's kind of light, but I think this is still an episode that was, you know what I mean? Like again, it's for the finale, right? Like, yeah, I might have said, like, we might be going, oh yeah, we're just waiting for the finale, but dude, the finale's still amazing, right? Like, finale episodes are still amazing, and this is like, yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that this should be a part of that, right? Because when people think of the finales and like they're and how good they are, they're really just focusing on the beginning, the end, all in, and the hardest thing. But dude, Three Armies is awesome too. Like, it's a really good episode. I think it deserves like accolades just as like high as the other episodes, in my opinion. Like, it might not be as like serious or emotional, but no, it feels grand. Like, it really, like, you. This is where you can. This is where you feel like they're starting to pull out all the stops here. You know what I'm saying? Like, they. This is where they stop holding back. That's what I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I'm trying to think like because as we get to like these episodes near the end of the series, it's hard to talk about them in retrospective when we've kind of like because we're at the end of the series, we kind of talked about the series in retrospective because those episodes came out at the end.
Yeah.
But I just like how like Hop Pop is considered like the de facto leader of the frogs. Again,
Actually,
another Hop Pop W.
yeah. I'm done. Yeah, he kept his political stature. That was pretty surprising. Like, I don't even know. That was pretty cool.
And like I do think I wish we got to see more of like the because we got a lot of stuff between like the frog and newt conflict. We did get a bit of stuff with the toad newt conflict. Did we really see much between like frog? Actually, we did see a lot of stuff with the frogs and newts, with like the planners in Utopia, and how like being a frog in Utopia was like a big deal. Kind of just like, oh, you must be like very like well off. And then I guess the toad newt conflict we've seen is mostly between like Barrel's Warhammer and then like the True Colors invasion. I'm sort of just like trying to like
Yeah,
think
there's
about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
no. I mean, I was just gonna say, yeah, there isn't really a. Yeah, I think we didn't get to see too much of that. We didn't get to see too much of like those specific conflicts. I guess it's. I think Impact said this, and I think like I sort of felt it too. Looking back, is that when it comes to the actual new representation, really it was weird. You know, it's just underneath Tritonio's flag, and it's like when you see those newts, you know, you don't really feel like
Yeah, I don't feel as
those are the
like
ones. Yeah,
yeah,
go
because at
ahead.
least with Beatrix, we've seen their army before, and like the newts felt too uniform.
Yeah,
Like we didn't see like if they showed like a mix of like the different utopian guards and whatever. I think and then like a couple of past like utopia like in Newts and Tights, if they showed us like returning Utopia characters, part of like Tritonio's gang. I mean, sure, it'd be a little bit convenient having them all in the same place, but I think it would have given us like still a better attachment to that group.
yeah. So, I mean, I just can't imagine Tritonio's group being a part of the ones that oppressed like the other classes because those are basically just citizens. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would have been. I feel like, yeah, the best we have is just like Albus Duckweed, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's the best we have. Like, you just see oppressed Wartwood for his criticisms. Like, that's like the best oppression we have.
like you know how like Tritonio's gang had like Little John, like that could have been Priscilla, and it could have worked out too. Like
Actually, yeah, you're right. Mm,
and like
mm.
Pearl can be like the little like the baby character that like Tritonio gets like attached emotionally attached to. Like Yeah, like there could have been a role for the Utopian characters, but it's like they kind of just went with a
Yeah,
bunch of like nameless guys.
it's like yeah, like God, like, yeah, because like when you think about like the shots of them entering the base, it's like it's a bunch of green newts, man. It was just like literally just like copy. Like I'm not like, of course, like they're trying not to kill their artists. Like, I completely understand that, but it was just it unfortunately highlights, like unfortunately, it inadvertently highlights like yeah that like we don't really have much investment in the new army because it's like honestly part of it is part of it is like where the fuck did they even come from? Like when we met Tritonio, we had like 30 people max. Like so then this dude brought in like an army of 1,000. It's like what the fuck? Like where did they come from? Like I,
Yeah, and like
Uh, Honestly, what you could have did was just have an episode where like we get like Sasha and resistance stuff, like tries to save a bunch of like people who are enslaved by Andreas. They established that plot point with the Toads being enslaved and Utopians, yet we never come back to them. It's so weird. You could have had a whole episode with that and it would have been easy. But I don't know what happened there. That was really weird.
oh, like Impact. While you're away, we kind of just mentioned how like all the Utopian characters could have been with Tritonio's gang, and that kind of would have given like better Utopia representation.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
Shit. Yeah, that would have been neat. Why didn't they do that? Oh my god. Like, it actually would have been awesome. What? Yo, if we got all the Utopia characters show up in one
like
episode,
Priscilla
I would
could
have
have
been
been Little
like,
John.
yeah. Yo, like,
And also, I think
missed
like
potential, yo.
all of like
Missed potential.
I love the Utopian armor knight armor. Just like that's just like I don't know. I just love that the way that armor looks. So I kind of didn't like how it just never showed up again. It's like all the guards in Andrews's like throne room.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think, like, I don't know. I think it would have been neat if like Tritonio was legitimately like going out and saving people and stuff, like in terms of like getting refugees out of there. So that's how he was building the army. Or like even having like two new episodes, like to establish that army would have been pretty cool. I don't know. I think the show sometimes like mixes up ancient Utopia and modern Utopia. Like it doesn't like have a fun divide with it, if that makes sense. Like we're always focused on like ancient Utopia, the core, all the shadowfish and everything in the basement and stuff. We're always on that, but like modern Utopia, I don't know, it doesn't really get much. You know what I mean? That's really unfortunate.
Yeah,
But
what
yeah,
is
like the Newts and Tights having the Newt characters come back, yo, I actually now I'm pissed off they didn't do that now. like actually, I never even thought about that.
and like we're thinking about like for the three armies, just how like the Newts were kind of like the most like underrepresented. They weren't really. They were too like uniform, but aside from
Yeah, it's
that,
like the
like
same dudes,
yeah,
you know. Yeah, because again, like we know Newt characters. Like it's funny because the characters we know that are Newts are like screwed right now in that castle. You know what I mean? Like the two characters we're investing into the most in the Newt side of things. Well, really, the three characters are like stuck with like that eyeball thing or being possessed. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Is there anything you want to add for the three armies? Because like, I can't really like.
Ooh, I got something.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I got
Because
something.
go ahead.
So I think one thing I will say about this episode is like I do really like how like fun it is thematically. So like one of the things that I found really interesting about ancient Utopia, specifically about the core, right, is how like you know, when Leaf is like saying, "Hey, we should probably change our economic system. It kind of sucks and it might kill us." And of course, like, LOL, no, the stones are a God-given right, manifest destiny, blah blah blah. Shut up, idiot. And then like then kicks her out and like tries to kill her. And Andrea says, "Nah, maybe not." And then ends up biting her, biting them in the behind. But like, anyway, the point is that like I really liked how like ancient Utopia could never really get past its past. You know what I mean? It can never get over the fact that like the stones are its God-given birthright. That's that old ideology that's stopping it from moving forward in the present and changing its like economic system or anything or improving its civilization. And anything that goes against that is bad. And it's essentially letting its past steal its future. And this happens again with like modern Utopia, right? I mean, not modern Utopia, modern Amphibia, right? Where they're arguing and yelling at each other because of 900 years of conflict and abuse or whatever, racism, you know what I mean? Which is like, you know, like you can't just let that go in one day. You know what I mean? But I think what I like there is that like modern Amphibia kind of like grows beyond its like ancient self and doesn't let like those years of conflict ultimately stop them from like defending their homeland and like what they care about. They're not letting the past of their like 900 years of like of a broken caste system stop them from moving forward in the present and actually creating great change. I love stuff like that. I don't know. There's something interesting about like the themes of the story coming with that, you know. And I liked how Anne like tells modern Amphibia like, hey guys, like we may be able to defeat the core and stuff, but like if you guys want to actually change as a civilization, that's on you. Like we are not gonna like save you from everything. Like, yeah, like they beat the core or whatever, but really what Three Armies is saying, like, Amphibia as a civilization, once the girls leave, it's their responsibility to like evolve from the past and to move forward. So, and you know, that fight when they fight against like the the armies and stuff in beginning of the end, that's a huge character beat for Amphibia. It stopped letting its past like stop it from moving forward and chose to move in the present and fight for a better future. I don't know. There's something really cool about Three Armies, like thematically for the show, and like I like that modern Amphibia like grew that day. Like thanks to the girls, but like again, the girls are not going to be able to solve every problem that comes with it. It's up to them. They have to be independent from the girls and like develop this civilization on their own. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Three Armies has like a lot of like banger, like thematic tale, like elements to the story. So yeah, I liked it.
All right, thank you, Impact. I think like everything else I want to say about is kind of leading into the finale. So I don't like. I think I'm done on my end.
I think
Yeah.
trying to think of anything haven't talked about. No, because most of the stuff is like again,
Beginning the
Darcy,
end.
Andreas,
Yeah.
like yeah, like we're saving that for the finale. That's gonna be like I got some takes. My opinion has changed of the finale quite a bit, so in good ways.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
cool. Scared me. I was like, yo, yo,
Nah,
is that
nah.
me?
No, it's not bad. But I do have some like compared to my write-ups from before, I will say like some things have like changed a bit. If I like view like character foils and stuff and like some thematic elements of the piece. So there's even some stuff I don't think I wrote before. Yeah. We'll
Hmm.
get there when we get there.
Oh, nice, nice.
All right. Then I guess Nick, do you have anything? Do you want to add any final thoughts?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I don't think I have anything else. I feel like, yeah, pretty much what I've said just on the stories. Yeah, not having too much, like the overall story, not having as much weight as I would have liked, but you know, I'm still being made of individual episodes. I really enjoy it. Um, Honestly, yeah, I pretty much said any hot take I had about freebie, I gave it out tonight. Any defense I had, I gave it out tonight. That's pretty much all I got.
All right, thank you, Nick. And yeah, myself, like, I really enjoyed how, 3A was kind of like a parallel to season 1 in terms of like character growth and direction for Anne. But I like how like the second half of season 3 was kind of like a also another kind of callback to season 1, but with like instead of like character arc stuff, it was more like actual characters and plot points, and the plot points in season 1 or certain characters and elements introduced then had a very direct, like tangible effect on the plot and how it set up our characters and what it gave to our story. So I think that's like what I liked about this second half the most. And I think we can wrap up tonight's recording, and thank you guys so much. Thank you all for listening, and thanks guys for coming on. And then next time we'll cover the end. And that's going to be
That's gonna be a doozy.
yeah. And after that, we'll figure out what we can talk about for the podcast. Say goodbye, everyone.
Peace,
See ya.
everybody.
See ya.